Every dinosaur-loving, snorting, giggling toddler on Peppa Pig has one job: be cute. George barely talks. He just plays with his dinosaur, cries when things don't go his way, and follows his big sister around like a shadow. But here's a question almost nobody asks. Why does George snort like a pig, not laugh like a kid? Snort. A real, specific animal sound, coming out of a 2-year-old human character in a show where every other kid just laughs normally. There's a theory that answers that question, and it has nothing to do with animation style, sound design, or a writer's room joke. It's tied to a real boy, a real farm, and a night that ended in tragedy. If you're ready to hear it, dim the lights and get comfortable, because another #scary wave is starting. We already uncovered Peppa's own disturbing origin story on this channel, and it left viewers seriously unsettled. George's version is different, quieter, sadder, and once you connect the dots, genuinely hard to unsee. Number 1, the detail everyone overlooks. Before the tragedy, start with the clue hiding in plain sight: George's snort. Animators don't usually give a human-pig hybrid character a specific, non-human vocal tick without a reason buried somewhere in the writer's notes. Fans have floated a few explanations over the years. Some say it's just a stylistic choice, meant to make George feel younger and more animalistic than Peppa. Others think it's a subtle nod to the family's surname, Pig.
Ah, you are Mr. Pig?
Nothing deeper than a visual pun. Neither explanation fully holds up. If it were just style, other toddlers in the show wouldn't sound so distinctly human by comparison. And if it were just a name joke, why does George specifically snort, while Peppa never does? There's a third detail that rarely gets mentioned in these debates: George's overalls. Not a farm smock, not a romper, not the kind of outfit you'd expect on a suburban toddler in a modern British sitcom. Denim overalls, the exact style associated with working farms. On their own, 3 coincidences don't prove anything. Stacked together, they start to look less like coincidence and more like a pattern somebody wrote in on purpose. The theory that actually explains all 3 goes back decades, to a small English town long before Peppa Pig ever existed on a whiteboard. Number 2. A normal boy, a comfortable life. The boy at the center of this story was 2 years old, living with his parents in a quiet, middle-class part of the UK. Financially comfortable, emotionally stable. The kind of ordinary childhood nobody expects to end up at the center of a legend. He had one obsession: a plastic farm playset, complete with cows, sheep, a tiny fenced-in barn, and a miniature farmer figure. His favorite piece by far was a small plastic pig he'd named Mr. Oink, a name he apparently insisted on using every single time, correcting anyone who called it anything else. He had no idea that toy would end up meaning far more to him than anyone around him realized. Number 3. The business that was quietly failing. What the boy didn't understand yet was that his parents' finances were unraveling behind the scenes. In hushed arguments he wasn't supposed to overhear, one word kept surfacing again and again like a warning sign: money. His father started sleeping on the couch some nights. His mother's voice cracked during phone calls she thought he couldn't hear from his bedroom. By the time he turned 3, the boy already sensed something in the house had broken, even without anyone sitting him down to explain it directly. Kids don't need full sentences to understand tension. They just absorb it. Number 4. The move he never wanted. The announcement came the way most bad news gets delivered to children, dressed up as an adventure. "We're moving to a farm," his father told him, forcing a smile. "There'll be lots of little animals. You love pigs, don't you?" The boy didn't want animals. He wanted his house, his school, the kids from his street he played with every afternoon. But 3-year-olds don't get a vote in decisions like this. That night, crying quietly so his parents wouldn't hear through the wall, he reached for the only comfort he had left, his farmer figurine and Mr. Oink, and played with them on his bedroom floor until exhaustion finally pulled him under. He didn't know it yet, but that was the last night he'd ever play with those toys as just toys. In a matter of weeks, the plastic pig in his hand would be replaced by the real thing, and the line between the two would start to blur in ways his parents never anticipated. Number 5. A farm that felt like a different world. The new house was nothing like home: old, worn down, floorboards that groaned under every footstep, paint peeling near the windows, a smell that never quite left the hallways. No yard to play in either, just open pasture, mud, and the low, constant murmur of livestock somewhere out past the fence. There were no other children for miles in any direction. His parents worked from before sunrise until well after sunset just to keep the household running on whatever money they had left. And in that isolation, something started shifting in the boy that nobody around him saw coming. Number 6. When the animals became his only friends. With no other kids around, the boy slowly turned to the pigs. At first it felt strange, the mud caking his boots, the smell that clung to his clothes, the sound of real grunting instead of the clean plastic click of his old toys. But bit by bit, he adapted. He started imitating the way they moved, walking low to the ground, snorting the exact way they did, at first as a game, and later almost without thinking about it. His parents noticed and warned him more than once. It's fine to like the animals, but they aren't your friends. They don't think or feel the way people do. He didn't believe a word of it. He was certain the bond between them was real, the same way only a lonely child can be completely, stubbornly certain of something adults keep dismissing. By age 5, he was fully woven into the rhythm of farm life, waking before dawn to help milk the cows, loading crates for market, spending every spare hour he had crouched by the pig pen, talking to them like they were his closest friends, because in every way that mattered to him, they were. Number 7. The warning signs. Nobody caught. Looking back, there were smaller cracks before the final one. The boy stopped mentioning his old friends from the city. He stopped asking when they'd move back. His parents, exhausted and consumed by their own financial panic, chalked it up to a kid adjusting to a new normal. But it wasn't adjustment. It was replacement. The pigs weren't a coping mechanism anymore. They'd quietly become the entire center of his world, in a way that should have worried the adults around him far more than it did. Nobody caught it in time. Number 8. The night the truth came out. Then came the night everything collapsed at once. The boy woke to shouting downstairs. He crept to the kitchen and found his parents mid-argument, faces twisted with a fury he'd never seen from either of them before. They'd been scammed out of what little savings they had left. There was no recovering it, no going back to their old life, not now, and maybe not ever. He tried to calm them down the way he always did. It didn't work this time. They screamed that they couldn't stand this life anymore, couldn't stand each other anymore. Words far too heavy for a 5-year-old to carry. Frightened in a way he'd never been before, he did the only thing that made sense to him in that moment. He ran outside, straight into a storm that was already tearing the sky apart. Number 9. Shelter with the wrong company. Lightning lit up the yard in sharp, flickering bursts. Thunder rattled the windows hard enough to feel through the ground. Rain came down in heavy, relentless sheets. And still, somehow, standing out there in the middle of the storm felt safer than being inside with the screaming. He ducked into the barn, soaked through and shaking, heading straight for the only friends he had left. He told the pigs everything, certain, the way only a child can be certain, that they understood every word. But the pigs weren't calm that night. The storm had them pacing, panicking, slamming their bodies against the walls of their pen in a way he'd never seen before. Number 10. The moment no one could undo. He tried to soothe them anyway, the way he always had. Then came another crack of thunder, the loudest one yet, and the wooden gate finally gave way under the weight of frightened animals, throwing themselves against it again and again. The lights flickered once, then twice, then held on a dim, unsteady glow. Hooves scrambled against wet wood. Animals that had trusted him seconds earlier were now moving on pure panic, no longer aware of who was in their path. He stumbled to get out of the way. He fell. Outside, his parents had heard the gate splinter over the sound of the storm and were already running. By the time they made it to the barn, all they could see through the chaos and the rain was the strap of his overalls, half buried in the mud. They were too late. Number 11. How a tragedy became a tribute. The couple never recovered. Their marriage ended not long after, and according to the story, they never spoke about that night again. Not to each other, not to anyone. But the story of the boy who died on that farm didn't stay buried. It spread through the UK for years, passed along the way local legends usually are, quietly, mouth to mouth, until it eventually reached two men developing a new children's cartoon, Neville Astley and Mark Baker. According to the theory, they made a quiet decision most viewers would never guess. They named Peppa's little brother after him, gave the character the exact same age he was during the happiest years of his short life, and gave him that one unmistakable trait that started this entire investigation: the snort. Today, George is one of the most beloved toddlers in children's television. Millions of kids around the world know his laugh, his dinosaur, his tantrums, his snort. Almost none of them know where that snort supposedly came from. So, does this change how you'll watch George next time? Or do you think this is just internet legend dressed up as truth, the way so many of these theories are? Let us know below. And if this pulled you in, part 2 is coming, with a theory even darker than this one.